What's up, dear YouTube viewers? Time flies by fast. The first round of the FIFA World Cup is already over. At first, I thought about recording my reaction to every single match and telling you guys what I think about every single match, but then I decided not to. Instead, I decided to make a little shorter video where I just tell you the top 5 things I reviewed from this World Cup, from the first round of this World Cup. Now, of course, first round is still too early to make harsh conclusions such as this team was a massive failure or this team was a massive dark horse or something else, but some conclusions can already be made. So today I'm gonna talk about the top 5 conclusions that I made from this World Cup, from the first round of this World Cup. You can write your conclusions in the comments. Okay, we start with one surprising conclusion is that teams can actually score goals even without their main stars. For example, we saw the USA completely dominate Paraguay with a score of 5-1, and all the goals were scored by players who were not considered the main players of this team. Many people in the USA were hyping up players like Christian Pulisic to score all the goals for the USA, but the USA actually did pretty well even without Pulisic. Yes, this is just Paraguay, who, with all respect to them, is the weakest opponent the USA has to face by their recent results. But that still doesn't mean that they should be underestimated, because we saw how well they did against teams like Brazil and Argentina. So the fact that the USA completely dominated them still shows that the USA is absolutely a good team. And the fact that they did it even without Pulisic scoring a single goal showed that the USA is really a team and not just a team of shows that the USA is really a team where everyone can do something, not just a team of one player and a whole bunch of other players who are just there to assist him and score goals, or to assist him and help him. Also, we saw how Egypt tied with Belgium even without their main star Mohamed Salah scoring a single goal, which was also a massive upset. Also, we saw how South Korea beat Czechia even without their main star Heung-min Son. So yeah, we saw that teams can be effective even without their main star players. And this is something I'm very pleased with, because I feel like soccer becomes more interesting when teams don't over rely on just one player. Okay, at number 2, something else we thought is that even underdogs and outsiders can score some good goals. For example, we saw how Curacao scored one goal against Germany and for some time kept the score 1-1. Yes, at the end Germany still completely dominated the game, but the fact that Curacao didn't give up after the first goal and continued to attempt to attack and score goals shows that at least they were trying to do something, and that actually pleases me, because usually when we see outsiders playing against top teams, we see an outsider just completely shutting down and attempting to defend without attempting to strike and score any goals themselves. But Curacao was not one of those teams, and that is something I'm very pleased with. Also, we saw Iraq score one goal against Norway. Yes, at the end they still ended up losing, but the fact that they scored one goal is still an accomplishment in my opinion. We also saw Jordan score a goal against Austria and holding Austrians to a draw for a long time, and Austria only got their win in the last 20 minutes of the game. So that's something that I'm also very pleased with, that even teams that we consider outsiders can actually do good. Okay, at number 3, Spain isn't that good without Lamine Yamal. Now, I'm not saying that all others of Spain's players are bad. I'm just saying that without Lamine Yamal, Spain is no longer the clear favorite and the clear team to dominate the whole World Cup. We saw how they tied with Cape Verde, and even though a lot of it is due to the heroism of Cape Verde's goalkeeper, who made many saves, that still doesn't change the fact that Spanish players could have done more in terms of scoring goals. For example, Oyarzabal ended up being one of the worst players on the Spanish national team in a long time, and players like Olmo and others didn't really do anything against Cape Verde. So I think Spain still has what it takes to win the World Cup, but they really need to change their strategy, because usually when a team just relies on one player to do everything, they don't really end up winning the World Cup. Okay, at number 4, something else I reviewed is that Portugal's plan to over-rely on Cristiano Ronaldo is no longer working. Now, in the match against DR Congo, Cristiano Ronaldo didn't do anything regardless of being on the field for the whole 90 minutes. And as I said before in my World Cup predictions video, I think that in order for Portugal to win the World Cup, Cristiano Ronaldo needs to get over the fact that he can no longer play for the whole 90 minutes. Now, don't get me wrong, once again, I'm not saying that Cristiano Ronaldo is bad. I'm not disputing that he is one of the greatest players in all of the history of soccer, but I'm just saying that at this age and at this situation, he can no longer be the only player to score goals for Portugal. I still think he could be useful as a super sub who could come out after the 60th minute when the teams are already tying. I still think he could be useful as a mental leader with his energy that we must win at all costs, like we saw him at Al Nassr, and similar to how we saw Luka Modric motivate Dominik Livakovic at the 2022 World Cup. I still absolutely think Cristiano Ronaldo could be useful in this situation. And I still also think that Cristiano Ronaldo could still score 1 or 2 goals. But I also think that the plan that the Portuguese national football team had to just do nothing and let Cristiano Ronaldo do the work is not working. I mean, yes, João Neves scored 1 goal for Portugal against DR Congo, but after that they completely locked themselves up and decided just to not try to do anything, hoping for that 1-0 victory. And as a result, they ended up drawing with DR Congo. Yes, DR Congo isn't some weak team. They got good players who they naturalized from other countries, and also some decent players of their own, such as Noah Sadiki and Cedric Bakambu. But that still doesn't change the fact that Portugal, who literally have 3 Champions League winners, could have easily won this game if they chose a different plan. So it's clear that the Portuguese plan to over-rely on Cristiano Ronaldo is not working at this point. And I'm also surprised that Portuguese players other than Cristiano didn't try to do much, other than Cristiano Ronaldo and João Neves, because all of the Congolese defenders were focused on Ronaldo, and that could have been an excellent opportunity for other players such as Pedro Neto or Vitinha or Bruno Fernandes to do something and score a goal themselves while the defenders were too busy with Cristiano Ronaldo and making sure that Cristiano doesn't score. However, unfortunately, neither of them tried to do anything. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that Portugal will definitely fail this World Cup. And in fact, I still think they have what it takes to win the whole tournament. And their defeat does not, and them drawing does not signify that they will lose the tournament. Because we saw Argentina lost to Saudi Arabia in 2022 and still go on to win the whole tournament. We saw France barely beat Australia in 2018, where they only won due to a penalty and an own goal from Australia, and still went on to win the World Cup. So I still think Portugal absolutely has what it takes to win the whole tournament. However, I think in order for that to happen, they need to change something in their strategy. Because the strategy that they have right now is clearly not working. And finally, the last benefit I reviewed is that the new World Cup actually has its own benefits. Many people were skeptical with the expansion of the World Cup to 48 teams, saying that we will see some goalless draws and the games will no longer be enjoyable to watch. Some people even went as far as to say that we shouldn't start watching the games until the round of 16. But actually right now, what we saw was very beautiful. We saw only one nil-nil draw between Spain and Cape Verde. In all other matches we saw at least one goal. And even in matches that many people didn't consider worth watching, there were actually something worth watching. For example, in the New Zealand versus Iran game, we saw 4 whole goals, and we saw how neither team refused to give up and did what they could to win the game. In the Germany versus Curacao goal, we saw 8 whole goals, which is a record. So I think that the skepticism surrounding this World Cup didn't justify itself for most of the part. Now, I'm not saying this World Cup is ideal. There were definitely some flaws, which is something that I will talk about in a separate video after the World Cup is over. I will make a video about what I liked and disliked about this World Cup. But at the same time, it wasn't as bad as some people thought it would be. I think the new format actually has some benefits. The biggest benefit to me is that now third place teams also make it out of the group, most of them, which means that there is a motivation to fight for third place. Because before this, when only the first 2 teams make it out of the group stage, we saw We saw that after the second tour, when it was already obvious who would be second and who would be in the top two and who would be in the last two, teams had absolutely zero motivation to play because they already knew if they were going or if they were not going. Versus now, when even third place teams could advance, we see that teams have more motivation to actually fight for this third place and actually show something. So yeah guys, those are my top 5 things I reviewed at this World Cup. I'm hoping that this World Cup can continue to be as interesting as it was in the first tour. There's still many interesting matches to be played. For example, today we will see Mexico take on South Korea, and I'm very interested in what will that end in. Also, we will see Turkey versus the USA game, Arda Güler versus Florin Balogun. It will be interesting, and we will of course see the knockout rounds too. I'm hopeful that the final can be as interesting as it was last time, when we saw 6 whole goals and then a penalty round. I'm hopeful that, like last time, we saw two legends try to do what they could for their country, with Mbappe versus Messi. This time we can see another two legends do something for their country. I'm really hopeful for a final between Ronaldo versus Kane, or Ronaldo versus Mbappe, like we saw Messi versus Mbappe this time. Maybe we'll see Ronaldo versus Mbappe, or maybe something else, I don't know. I mean, of course, I'm mostly hopeful that the USA makes it to the final, but if the USA doesn't make it, that's the final I'm hoping for. It's either between Kane versus Ronaldo or Mbappe versus Ronaldo. Okay, bye guys. If you like this video, give it a thumb up. If you dislike this video, give it a thumb down. Subscribe and leave comments. I hope you have a good day. Bye guys.